Hey, what up, people? This is the Tenchi, and I'd like to welcome you to another TMNT Rant and Rave video. Now, if for those of you who that don't already know, I decided to do a quick few videos about my favorite franchise, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because of the fact that they're rebooting they're rebooting the show on Nickelodeon, coming out this Saturday. So yesterday I talked a little bit about the the comics, and as well as the first animated series in 1987, and I did kind of go off topic just a little bit, because when it comes to certain things, I can't help but nerd out when talking about them, and TMNT is definitely one of those things. You know what I mean? So anyway. Today I just want to focus on the movies. Now, that includes all 4 movies, including number 3 and TMNT. So let's get to number 1. Number 1 is probably my favorite of all the films, because watching it again as an adult, I enjoyed it a lot as a kid. It is still one of my top favorite films of all time. Watching it again as an adult and knowing more about the origins of the Turtles and where they came from and their story and everything else like that, I have to say that number 1 was the best. Basically because it was a little bit more to the to the original story of the Turtles, with a little bit of changes. They mixed in some of the 1987's cartoon with a little bit of the comic book. You know what I'm saying? The darkness of it, the wittiness of it, the fact that they they cussed. The fact that the fighting was a little bit more, well, not brutal, because it was still a PG-rated film, but it wasn't like the TV show that people thought it was going to be. I heard that when this originally came out, some people were a little taken aback. There was a lot of mixed feelings because they were used to seeing the TV show, and it's and it's funny, and it's campy, and it's it's for kids. In this one, you got the Ninja Turtles cussing and talking about girls and with regard, and it's just and weird dancing and all that. Yeah, you got some of that in the original 1987 show, but a lot of what was going on, especially the tone of the film at the beginning, was reminiscent of the comics. But what I loved about it was, since they mixed in both things, like you had April O'Neil. She had a yellow jacket, reminiscent to her yellow jumpsuit in the original show. And correct me if I'm wrong, but have you realized that jumpsuit? I don't know who wears a jumpsuit when you're a reporter, was like almost skin tight. I mean, come on. But I guess that's why a lot of people like her. But so they're talking about everything from the movie, like the fact that the Foot Clan, the silent crime wave, and Shredder is a very not to be messed with type dude. You know what I mean? He was very like take no prisoners. And the origin of the Turtles, like the way that was described by Splinter, gives you a little bit of a better idea of where they came from. Now, I like the fact that, and this is another thing from the comic book, in the original 1987 series, they became humanoid because of of Splinter or Hamato Yoshi, and in this one they all were they were all covered in ooze, and they became humanoid that way. Now I like that instead of having Splinter be Hamato Yoshi. I like him having his own story, along with the fact that his master died in finding the Turtles later on in New York sewers and all that. But that's just me. That whole story, you know, it had a little bit of something for everybody. It had comedy. It had, you know, it had nice fights. Not the best, but still nice fights. It had you know, it had a very cool lesson about about family. It had a really you know, it had a Raphael was the the hot-headed one, of course, like he's always been. But in this one, he was the like the Brooklyn boy, you know what I mean? And it really, you know, to this day, I still think it's the best. Number two was more, you know, a little bit more dumbed down and turned into in more of a kids film. And I don't blame them for that. It was a PG-rated film. A lot of parents might have been a little miffed about the first one and letting their kid watch it. So, you know, the filmmakers made it. You know, they made it more kid-friendly. Yeah, and the first scene where they're messing around with the robbers in the shopping center, and Kino is introduced. That whole thing is very, you know, it's still kind of funny. You know, it's still funny. Now, watching it again, yes, it's still funny, but it's not as funny as it used to be when I was a kid, but it's cool. It's whatever. But I noticed a pattern in all 4 movies. Actually, I shouldn't even say all 4. It started in number 2 and just kept going. Somebody gets captured. Somebody either gets captured or jumped. Now, in the first movie, Raphael gets jumped by the by the Foot Clan when he goes off on his own, right? Second movie, not only does he get jumped by the Foot Clan going on his own, along with help from Kino this time when trying to figure out where the Foot Clan are hiding out, he gets captured. In the third film, it's Michelangelo who gets captured, not by the Foot Clan because they don't exist anymore, but by the Japanese soldiers. So in the fourth film, it's Leonardo getting captured by the monsters that that the Foot Clan was after. So there's a pattern. Someone either ends up getting beaten up or ends up getting captured. I know it's just a minor detail, whatever. Number 2 also went in more of the origin story. It went into where they came from in the first place, why they're here. You know what I'm saying? That whole thing with the TGRI canister oozed was a big accident. But but especially Donatello wants to see it as more of a, there's a reason why we're here. We're special, you know what I'm saying? And yes, there's a reason why they're here, and it might not have been as spectacular as Donatello wanted them to be, but at one point I just wanted to tell him, like, man, you guys are special. Look, you're the only one of your kind. Walking, talking turtles that know ninjutsu, okay? Seriously. Besides, I know it could probably get a little lonely because, it's only you guys, that's it, but, I kind of knew where he was coming from on that one. The fact that Shredder came back as with more anger in his heart. He came back after the first one. He thought he was dead, then he miraculously comes back, digs himself out of a garbage heap, takes control of the Foot Clan again, and plots revenge. Not only does he plot revenge, but he also makes up his own 2 mutants, Toka and Razor, a wolf and a snapping turtle. Now, you'd think that would be formidable foes for them, but no, they're just babies. They're babies, trapped in full adult mutated bodies. That's the comic relief. Once again, that's for the kids, minus the destruction. And the fact that Vanilla Ice was in this film, even if it was just for a music cameo, early 90s, what are you gonna say? It's really, it's early 90s, and he was big at the time for a little bit, and that's the only song that I can listen to from Vanilla Ice and not feel weird about it. the other songs that he had, like even Ice Baby, that only other hit that he had, I really wasn't. Yeah, I was digging that for a second, but that was when I was a kid. And then later on, I'm like, nah. Ninja Rap is not one of the best songs, but you know what? I'd say that was his hit right there. And the third film, explain to me why there's no subtitle. I didn't realize it until someone else mentioned it. There is no subtitle in Ninja Turtles Part 3. But later on in the DVD releases, okay, because I killed all three of these on video cassette tapes, you know what I'm saying? But when the DVDs came out, they, not the first edition, but the second edition, when the box set came out, they gave it a subtitle called Turtles in Time, because of the time travel plot. You know what I'm saying? With the young Prince Kenshin rebelling against his father, and then later on you go to modern day New York, and April O'Neil had just given the Turtles a bunch of presents because she's about to go on vacation. She doesn't want them to miss her too much and all that stuff, and then she ends up getting this scepter that she originally got for Splinter, and Kenshin, years before, like centuries before in Japan, is opening wide the gates of time, so to speak, and they end up trading places. So that whole thing is supposed to be a rescue mission. Now, the reason why that film gets a bad rep, from what I can tell, and from later on reading the reviews, is the fact that the Jim Henson Company was not involved. The Jim Henson Company, the Creature Shop, they were not involved in the third film. So the puppeteering was off, the writing was a little off, and I guess some people wanted it to be based loosely off of the video game that had come out during that time called Turtles in Time. I never got to play it. I only saw one arcade game machine for that one, and it was at a place we used to go to, but a place that the kids used to go to, but it was always out of order, so I never got a chance to play it. So I never really got to understand what people were talking about. But I still enjoyed the heck out of that movie. I, as a kid, would imitate almost every scene that I saw, minus the Leo giving CPR to Yoshi, because I didn't know CPR at the time. Wouldn't it be cool to learn CPR from them? I could tell them, like, hey, the Ninja Turtles help me. You know what I'm saying? They're a big part of my life, and they help me learn CPR. I mean, hey, if a kid can watch a movie from that and learn something, you've done something right. But so anyway, that whole thing is a search and rescue mission, right? I can understand that. It's not yes, it is the worst of the first three films, but it has a reason for it. It's not the best, but it could have been a whole lot worse, in my opinion. The fourth film, and yes, TMNT will count as a fourth film, because if you look at the beginning of the movie, they explain a little bit of what the turtles have already been through, you know what I'm saying, and like where they came from, and then they tell you that the Shredder's gone. So right then and there, you can tell that it was supposed to cater to the fans that already knew about the Turtles, about their origins, about where they came from, and if you saw the first three movies, then you pretty much knew what you were in for. But unfortunately, it didn't really cater much to the new fans. And this was years later. The last movie, number 3, came out in, I believe, 1993 or 1994, and the next one didn't come out till 2006, 2007, and it catered more to the fans. It didn't really say much for the didn't really have much if you just came into it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that was already, set and done. But, yes, it did have some plot holes. Yes, it did have some issues. But the CGI was good. The plot was cool. It was about, once again, it was another plot about family. It was about finding yourself. Like the guy who was the knight, who was immortal for all those years. He had to learn that there's a price for everything. Power is not everything. In his case, he had to learn that power corrupts, and family. That's another thing. That's forever. Now Raphael. Now, even though, okay, check this out. I just figured something out. Even though the movie mostly the first part of the movie centered around Leonardo learning how to be a better leader, it was more of, I think the person that learned the lesson more was Raphael. You know what I'm saying? Family is the biggest part, is the biggest part of everything. I mean, you can't, even though you and your brothers may butt heads, the fact is you're brothers. Regardless of who got the highest position or whatever, you guys are brothers. You guys have to have each other's backs. You can't just do everything alone by yourself. Now, yes, he is loyal to a fault, just like Splinter said. He's hot-headed, but he's always raring to go for a fight, and he's always there for his people, for his brothers. But at the same time, you can't do everything alone. I think that's what he was supposed to learn. Nobody else seemed to really learn much in that film, because a lot of people were underdeveloped. But it's still a fun film to watch, especially if you got kids. It is a very fun film to watch, very detailed, and I wish that they would go that route again for the next film. I'm not gonna go into expectations for the Michael Bay film, excuse me, and but because I already did that in another video when the information for that originally came out, so I'm not even gonna go into it because really nothing else has been released yet. But so that's what I think about the Ninja Turtles films. Anybody have any other opinions about that? Let me know. I want to go more detail with the next two series that came out after this. That would happen to be 4Kids version of the Ninja Turtles, which is actually the first few episodes were a lot. You can tell they paid attention to the source material, the comic books, as well as Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. A lot of people do not like this series, and I'm not going to totally defend it, but I'm going to tell you what I did like about it and what I didn't like about it. So, hope you enjoyed this little rant rave video on TMNT. I hope you plan on watching the next, the next animated show. Let me know what your thoughts on that are of it. What do you expect of it? What do you think of the voice cast coming up? And I will see you again tomorrow for another TMNT Rant and Rave video. Brought to you by your boy, Elder Tension. Peace and love.